Hey guys, it's Full Size here with another Space Engineers video. Today we're going to be getting off the planet, which if you just saw there, the planet is rapidly approaching beneath us. Planets have been out for a few weeks now, and it seems like I'm still seeing a lot of people asking on the forums, how do you get off the planets? So that's what we're going to do. And the reason I'm making this video isn't just to show you how to get off planets, because I think that's been covered, but how to do it fast, okay? You don't have to build a big base. You don't have to build a giant ship. You can just go down, grab a few resources, rebuild your atmospheric lander, and take off. It doesn't take that long. It's not that big of a deal. So while we're free falling, I'm going to go ahead and go into the inventory and take care of a few things. First of all, disable the landing gear because it's a pain and it will kill you. If you touch the planet, the auto lock feature makes the landing gear automatically attach to the planet, and something about that is bugged. A lot of times it'll shake your ship apart and it'll explode. So that's no good. We can also go into our assembler, inventory, and we can go into production, switch it over to disassemble, and then add a few items to it. Now you can't add any of your hand tools, though you want to. But you can grab these oxygen bottles and get rid of them. Why? You're going down to a planet. You don't need oxygen. You can just take off your helmet when you land. Also, the oxygen bottles have some rare resources in it. If you go over to production, let's go over to assemble. It'll probably kick those back out now. And the hand tools. The tier 4 hand tools, you start out with tier 1s. The tier 4s require platinum, which you can't get on a planet. But the tier 3s require silver as their most rare resource, which you can get from these oxygen bottles. So if we disassemble them, and then there's a few other items here. In the cargo, there's ammunition clips, which you don't really need. There are, let's see, solar cells and power cells. I gotta switch that back over to disassembly or it automatically kicks it back out. So we can start some of this stuff disassembling while we're free falling towards the planet. Alright, so we disassemble a few of those. We're getting iron, silicone, and nickel. And for our advanced tools we need iron, nickel, cobalt, silicone. Yeah. So we'll just disassemble a few of these. Disassemble a few of these. And a few of these. And then back to disassemble all. So that gave us a few of these, each of these resources. Alright, our atmospheric landers come to a stop. I'll hop out of the chair here. Go down to the cargo hold and dump these tools in. It looks like the cargo hold has another set of these standard tools as well. So we'll disassemble all those tools. Now, if we go into the hand tools, we can create, straight off the bat, not tier 1, not tier 2, but tier 3 tools. So now we've got a tier 3 grinder, welder, and hand drill. That stuff started disassembling again. Pick up all those, pick up these 2 hydrogen bottles, we're going to want them. And hit J to take off your helmet so you can breathe. Alright, so now we're ready to find a landing site. We want something, preferably a large lake. A large lake would be great. The desert would be okay too, but we're going to have to find ice before we can leave the planet. Because, again, the only way to get off the planet is hydrogen thrusters, and hydrogen thrusters use a lot of ice to convert into hydrogen as their fuel source. You wonder what I did there. I just tilted the ship forward so that I could use those massive engines to get up a lot of horizontal speed against the ground. So I don't see any water here. It looks like I kind of came down in the middle of a desert type area. So we're just going to head over this way because I think I saw a lake this direction when we were a lot higher up. I haven't done it yet, but I'm sure I'm going to put a time frame on the video, like however many minutes or hours it takes to actually land on the planet and get off. I'm not going to count this time. I'm only going to count from when I actually set down and start doing stuff on the planet, because that's the only part that really matters. Going, 10K around the planet looking for some water isn't a big deal, because some people, most of the time, you're going to come down very near a body of water or ice, and in the rare situations where you don't, it's just not a big deal to fly over there, and I'm not going to count that in the time. So if anybody wants to get nitpicky about that and say, oh, well, it was actually 5 minutes longer because you had to go find some ice, I don't care. And yes, there's a giant lake right up ahead of us, so that's awesome. The reason we need a lake isn't just that there's ice there, because we do have to have the ice, but also it's really easy to spot where the resources are around a lake. It's pretty easy to spot them in a desert too. Anywhere there's flat terrain, it's easy. But since we have to go to a lake anyway, we might as well look for our resources over there, because there's only 3 resources we need. We need a load, I'm going to say a load, that's a backpack full, a load of uranium for fuel, because they don't start us with very much. If you see the fuel time down there, it's 50 minutes. We could technically make it off the planet, but you wouldn't be able to make it much farther. So it's kind of pointless to go into space without enough fuel to get around and do stuff. So we're not just going to get out of the atmosphere. We're going to get out of the atmosphere with enough resources to go anywhere and do anything we want, including go to the asteroid belts or land on another planet or whatever. So we need a load of uranium. We need a load of iron. Technically, we don't need the iron. There's enough steel plates in all the armor blocks on this ship. We could tear them apart and reprocess them, and we wouldn't need to get a load of iron. But it's faster to find iron and mine it, because iron is so common, than it is to tear the ship apart and reprocess the stuff. So we need a load of uranium. We need a load of iron. And I don't remember what it's for, but we need a load of cobalt, because there's something to do with the thrusters. Oh, metal grid. We're going to need a lot of metal grid in order to build the thrusters. And so we're going to have to get a load of cobalt in order to make those. Because the only thing we have that has cobalt in it is our hand tools, and even recycling them, that's not enough. Alright, so here's the lake. I'm going to go ahead and kill my forward velocity and descend and start looking for some resources. Alright, right off the bat, there's some uranium, so I'm going to go and park over here and hop out and grab a little bit of uranium. Yeah, okay. Do you hear the big boom? They put in these mechanical dog things, and they're jumping down the hole and killing me, so. I probably should have turned those off, but it's okay. Looks like I lost my hand drill. Oh well. Before I drop off my supplies, I'm just going to get the ship off the ground so one of those dogs doesn't come and blow it up. Yeah, good. I had enough silver in order to rebuild it. So while I'm mining, I'm going to go ahead and take my other hand tools out of my inventory so that they don't accidentally get blown up too. Now I still need to find some iron and some cobalt. Alright, so I found some iron and some cobalt in the next spot, so that wasn't too hard to find. It's usually not. Cobalt can be a little annoying to find, but there's quite a bit of it around too. As you can see, I kind of went down under the cobalt a little bit and then started back up again. And the reason is those pesky little robot dogs. Because if they do jump down this hole like they did the last one and try to kill me, they're going to be down there somewhere, unable to get to me, hopefully, and they'll explode. Yeah, I hear them blowing up. So they're trying to get to me, but they don't have a direct path or whatever, so they're exploding. And my ship is up in the air, so they can't get to it either. Alright, full of cobalt. Yay, no stone. All I have to worry about is will they get me on my way back out? Which, there's a pretty simple solution to that too. Just aim yourself up and dig a fresh hole out. And that way, the only time they could possibly get you is the instant when you're coming up out of the ice and flying up into the air. Waste a little bit of extra time, but I think worth it to keep from dying. See, now I'm off the ground and they can't touch me. And there's one of them dogs, and he started tagging me as soon as I landed, so I'm going to let him get frustrated and blow himself up. I'm sure another one will be along shortly. Once again, dig down, go sideways, and then go up, and then the dogs won't be able to get to you.
Inventory full.
And yeah, I heard another dog blow up, so he wasn't able to get to me by doing that. So now I'm going to dig a fresh hole out. Go to the refinery, and yeah, it's processing the uranium, which I brought first. And I need iron mainly right now, so I'm going to put the iron in the front of the list. It processes really fast. Then the cobalt will get processed, and then uranium. Our reactor's already got a lot more uranium in it than what we started with, so that's good. Now, I don't need to move the ship necessarily, but I'm going to go ahead and move the ship over into the light, if I can. Because I believe that those dogs attack more often in the dark. And I don't know if we're just on the dark side at the moment, but if I can just move over here into the sunlight and stop them from attacking so much, That'd be great. Yeah, and we're already up to, well, it's not really going to tell accurately while I'm moving. Alright, so getting out of the shadow, maybe it'll help. And we can stay up in the air. I mean, as long as we keep our hydrogen bottles full, we're fine just floating here. We've got 16 hours of fuel. We had 1 hour of fuel. Now we're up to 16. We're doing pretty good. Alright, so we can go back into the assembler. Get rid of our hand drill. We should never need it again, hopefully. Unless I forgot something. Go into our cargo and get rid of, let's see. Might have gotten rid of everything already. Good. Okay, so I think we're ready to start building. The first thing we're going to need to do is build ourselves a hydrogen tank. And the best place to put it is on the bottom of the ship, because that way you can just build your thruster straight onto it and you don't have to worry about a lot of piping. We do need to get some piping down there, though, from inside the ship. So I'm just going to dig a hole in the floor, but before I do that, I'm going to get some parts building. For, let's see, we're going to need, I think, one of these elbows here. And one of these two, whoops. Yeah, okay, I did that right, but I thought I hit something wrong. Okay. So one of these elbows, and one of these conveyor tubes, and one of these conveyor blocks on the top, and then underneath we're going to need, let's say, maybe 4 more of these. Let's give it no, we don't need any more of these. So that's fine. I think that's good right there. And those dogs are still attacking. So being in the light doesn't seem to have helped anything. I'm going to have to be really careful with them when I go to mine ice, because I don't want them blowing up my my ship while I'm doing that. Alright, so while that's building, we're going to go over here and start putting down some framework at least. You guys are going to blow a huge hole underneath the ship, I think, eventually, trying to get up here. Makes me wonder, if I just hover here all day, will they blow? How deep of a hole will they blow? Because they got to be walking straight under me, and then they're not able to get up, and then they explode, right? Alright, so we can get the next thing building. We're going to need a hydrogen tank. Right there. And it says we're missing a lot of iron. But we're probably going to need a lot of iron plates for it. So, yeah, 200 and something iron plates. I'll go ahead and cancel those, because we have a lot of iron plates already. Oh, I need to move these engines because they're in the way. I could build around it, but there's just really no point. Had a phone call there. Alright, so when you're moving these thrusters, just be sure that you only move one on each side at a time. Otherwise, your ship, if it's tilted even slightly, will start running away from you. So I'm going to grab this one here. And this one here. And rebuild them on top. Be sure you got one pointing each direction. Alright, we don't need that ramp anymore either, so get rid of it. Now the assembler should have all the rest of the parts that we're going to need for this build. Alright, so now we're going to want about, let's say, 5 large drill bits, because we could do it with one, but we might as well get it over with, right? Cancel 600 of the steel plates. No, I can do more than that. Whoops, I canceled some of the... Well, that's fine. I have some of those over here too, so there. Alright, now we don't have to keep flying back and forth inside the ship. We can just access stuff through one of these little access ports here. Now, you might say, why in the world are you putting giant drill bits on here? Well, like I said, we've got to have something like 400 K of ice in order to fuel our hydrogen rockets just to get off the planets. And if we want to get anywhere into space, like significantly, maybe go land on another planet, we're going to need probably more like 500K. And you could mine that by hand 10K at a time, but come on, let's just build some giant drill bits. Whoa, I need more steel plates for that one. Let's see, another 100 should do it easy. It's only for the armor side of the drill bit, but if I happen to smack into the ice a little bit, I don't want it to break off. Not sure which one it was. Well, there, I've hit them all. I must have gotten it. I'm really not sure if those dogs are going to be a problem, but I'm going to look at real quick building an autocannon of some sort and see what I would need in order to build it. See, there's a Gatling turret that I could build, and it's going to take a bunch of iron that I don't have, and cobalt. I wonder if one of these interior turrets would do it. It also takes... I don't know why it's saying I don't have iron. I must have iron. Probably in the refinery. Alright, so now I've got all the ingots moved over to the from the refinery to the assembler, and now it's showing that I can build this. So I could build it. Hopefully, it won't be an issue. I don't know. I just need it while I mine the ice. So I'm going to go ahead and build a couple of these. Normally, I mean, I've never done this before. These dogs just came out today, so I don't know how big of an issue they're going to be. And I think those cannons use this NATO ammo. So I'll build a couple hundred of that. I'm not really sure. I think that'll be more than enough. And again, I can recycle these things if I need to. Keep an eye on your hydrogen too, because your ship's floating in air. You cannot afford to run out of hydrogen, because then all you can do is kill yourself and then respawn in the medbay, and that's annoying. Yeah, okay, so I kind of messed up here. I built that giant hydrogen tank, and I should have turned it off immediately, but because I didn't, it used up all the oxygen that or all the ice that I had here. So I'm going to have to take my 31% on this one bottle, run down there, hope a dog doesn't kill me, and grab at least a little bit of ice, just so I can refill these. And I didn't have enough to build very much ammo. I'm out of magnesium. So that might be an end to this whole little project. So I'm just going to have to be careful mining, I think. Since I don't need this stuff, I'm going to go ahead and disassemble it. Not those things, just the ammo. So forget about autocannons. Just, you know, deal with the dogs, whatever. I forgot to take my helmet off. See, I was down to 1.1% oxygen, so took my helmet off. Make sure none of them pesky dogs are coming up on me.
Inventory full.
Alright, so I turned the hydrogen tank off until I'm actually ready to start filling it, which I will be ready very shortly. So, alright, so I got my drills in group, so I can turn them on and off easy, and I'm going to go ahead and let down to the ice and grab some of it. Gotta watch out for them doggies. Let them explode, and then I can mine. Alright, see how much ice we got. Alright, so we got 253k there from that. So if we go down into another hole that deep and grab that much ice again, we're going to be great on ice for our entire trip. That's up into space and down on another planet if we wanted to even. Just keep an eye out for dogs. If you see any coming in, jet back up into the air until they explode or whatever. See, there comes a couple. I'm just going to get out and let them do their thing, blow up. All right, so now we have 4, 5, 600, 60, 70, 80, 90, almost 700K of ice. That is way more than what we need. So we are fantastic on ice now. And that also means that from now on we can stay up in the air, um, which means the dogs are a non-issue. We never have to set down again. Forgot to turn the drills off. We're going to recycle these now because we don't need them anymore. You can't fly into space with them anyway. If you thought, ooh, I love having drills on my giant ship, I'm going to fly into space with those. You can't do it. They're bugged out. If you try to leave the planet with them, they'll like freak out and rip themselves loose from the ship and probably take a chunk of your ship with it. So don't even try. So that is a large hydrogen engine. We also need 5 small hydrogen engines. You don't have to have the small ones. Technically, you can go into space with just the one big one, but then in order to stop, you have to flip the ship around perfectly straight with the direction you were going and use your inertial stabilizers to slow you to a stop. It's a real pain. You might as well just put on a few of these. You don't want your hydrogen engines burning up any of the hydrogen you got built either in standby, so or while the ship is using its inertial stabilizers, because it'll run those too. So I turned the tank back on so it'll start filling, and I turned off the hydrogen engines so that they won't waste any fuel. See the tank? You have to keep clicking it in order to see the update, but it is filling very slowly because we only have one oxygen generator, but I'm about to fix that problem. So technically right now, you could just sit here, let your one oxygen generator fill that tank full, and then take off into space. But when we do take off into space, I don't want to basically be depleting my reserves of hydrogen way faster than they can be regenerated. So we have one oxygen generator back there. I'm going to go ahead and build a few more of them, because otherwise we're just sitting here twiddling our thumbs waiting for that one to fill the tank anyway. Whoops, I dropped some parts. I forgot I was full. See, that has a connector on both sides of it there. Not that side, not all four sides, but both sides, and also, if I hold it up in the air, on the bottom. So I can put it right there, and it'll complete the path for the conveyors from the hydrogen tank underneath all the way back to everything else. And I can keep building these over this way. I want to get 5 or 6 of them. I'll see how many will fit. We don't need this programmable block for anything, so I'll get rid of it, and then I can fit one more right here. If you really want to, you could go ahead and build them on over here, but you don't need that many. I think this is going to be plenty. Alright, so I need a couple motors, a couple large tubes, a couple computers. Alright, so now we have 5 oxygen generators. Let's go into our inventory, make sure they all have ice in them, because they may or may not auto-pull. I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, so some of them pulled, and some of them didn't. Well, I guess once I put a little in, they all pulled. I don't know. Maybe they only pull every 30 seconds or so. But either way, both of them are full now. Now let's go back over to our hydrogen tank and see it's filling a lot faster than it was. It's still going to take a while to fill, but it's filling a lot faster than it was before. Alright, so just because we can, I'm going to go ahead and build some more oxygen generators because, again, we don't need them necessarily, but we're just sitting here waiting on them to fill that tank, so we might as well build some more. These things are actually surprisingly cheap to produce. Guess I can't put one over there for some reason. Maybe the glass window. They're kind of weird sometimes. Alright, so there's 5 more oxygen generators. We should be well set on oxygen generators now. Which, yeah, they produce oxygen, but we're building them because they also produce hydrogen. They should be called a hydrogen oxygen generator or ice processor or something, but they're not. Alright, so there we go. All the oxygen generators have something in them. Hydrogen tank is filling up pretty good. I guess twice as fast as it was before. It's still going to be a little while though. I may just time lapse this. I don't know. Uh, right now though, I still need to build one hydrogen thruster on the top of the ship. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. That way we have, you know, something of a braking thruster, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. I wonder if I could build a large one up there. I don't know if I have the parts for it. But again, we're just sitting here waiting right now for the hydrogen to produce. So let's try it and see what we get or how far we get. Oh no, I have a steel plate stuck on top of this little door here and it won't let me pick it up. There it goes. If that ever happens to you, and I have had this happen before, where it absolutely will not let you hit T to pick it up because it's trying to access the door instead of picking up the part that's in the way, the easiest way to deal with it is to get a hand drill and drill into the part, and what will happen is it'll turn it into scrap metal and then it'll destroy it completely. And so it's kind of a workaround for that.
Inventory full.
Whoops, the steel tube just fell through the glass. That's weird. Alright, so we can connect to the top of that oxygen generator right there. So I'm going to connect that here, which I need interior plates. I forgot. Whoops, I got to go get some of those. I didn't even need to come all the way down here. I should have just accessed it from the top of that oxygen generator. I don't know. It kind of looks like the ship is ascending. Maybe it's my inertial dampeners on my jetpack that are acting weird, but I'm just going to make sure I'm not getting anywhere near the surface. My inertial dampeners are off. I'm not sure when I did that. These engines are in the way again. I could just cut them off, but I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to put a couple of these tubes here. Again, just kind of killing time while we wait for the hydrogen tank to fill. It's at 95%. I better get that engine built. It's about time to go. Could put a small thruster on top, but once we get out into space, you're going to want as much topping power as you have going power, I guess. So with the large thruster on the bottom, we're going to want a large thruster on top. Or when we get into space, it won't be top and bottom, it'll be forward and back. Alright, so now I'm going to group all these hydrogen engines. And if you noticed, that last one, when I turned it on, or when I finished building it, it actually started pushing the ship downward somewhat. So it made it slightly difficult to get back in it. And if I'd been anywhere near the ground, like, 10, 20 meters up, it might have pushed me down into the ground, possibly causing damage. So good thing I was way up in the air. But for future reference, before you finish building it, go into the control panel and disable it. So right now I need to set up some control groups. So when we're leaving the planet, I don't need the downward large thruster or any of the small thrusters activated. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in a group. And I'm going to put the large thruster in a group just so I can find it in the groups easy. Go to my shortcut menu. Put all my atmospheric thrusters in a group too. Because once we get out of the atmosphere, we can shut them off for good. Alright, now the main engine, we also need to have a decrease and increase throttle override, because after you burn a full burn with that thing for a few seconds, you're going to be at maximum velocity. And from that point on, you can either tap the W key on and off as you're ascending to keep from burning extra fuel, or you can simply set up an override and slowly decrease it as the gravity decreases. So you want to toggle on and off, just because it's always good to have one, and you want to decrease, increase throttle on your main engine, and you want your maneuvering thrusters on and on off, because we're going to leave them off until we actually get out into space and need to start maneuvering. And then you want your atmospheric thrusters on and on off. I suppose I ought to close the door because we're going into space and I'm going to need to be able to breathe. Alright, so the air vent says that the room pressure is 100%, so I should be fine on the air pressure. I'm not positive I didn't put a hole in the ship that's going to leak all the air out, so just to be sure, I'm going to go ahead and put my helmet back on. Oh, I already had my helmet on, so I'm going to leave my helmet on until I get into space and confirm that the inside of the ship is pressurized, because I did cut a hole in the top and in the bottom of it. And whereas I used those conveyor blocks that shouldn't leak, up here I had a bit of an angled mess and a beacon, and it might be leaking. It kind of looks like there's a hole around it, but I just don't know how the mechanics work on that. So until I'm sure, I'm just going to leave my helmet on. Right, so you go into your third person view. You can do it in first person view. See that horizon indicator? You want to be perfectly level with that. And then we're going to turn on our main engine, which is on the bottom. I'm just going to turn the override onto the lowest setting because I want the engine on, but I don't want it assisting with the vertical climb until we're out of the range that the atmospheric engines can take over. So that'll keep it on, but burning at a very low throttle. So now I'm just ascending with the atmospheric thrusters. As you can see, my speed is 100 meters a second already. That didn't take long at all. And as soon as the speed starts to drop, that's going to be when we're out of the atmosphere, or at least high enough that the air is so thin that the atmospheric thrusters aren't able to operate anymore. I don't remember what range that's at. I think it's around 7,000 meters. But just watch your speed indicator. It's going to be really obvious when you get there. And the reason we're doing this is we're not burning any hydrogen yet. So, I mean, we've got plenty of fuel, but why waste it? Alright, so now our speed's starting to drop. We're going to cut off the atmospheric engines, turn on the hydrogen engine with a higher override setting. So we're at maximum speed on the override now. And we're just going to see our speeds. I could have done that smoother if I wasn't trying to explain it. I wouldn't have lost more than a few meters a second of speed. But, what do you do? So now we're at 100 meters a second again. And what you do is as the gravity drops, you just turn down that override slowly. See, I'm down to half power on that main engine now, which means I'm burning half the hydrogen, and I'm barely losing speed. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it up one more notch. And we're at 0.69 Gs right now. We're at 10,000 meters already. I mean, that didn't take long. Let's check on our hydrogen fuel tank, see how it's doing. And our hydrogen fuel is at 100%. So by using the combination of the atmospheric engines and the hydrogen tank, or the hydrogen engine, the way that we did, we burned so little hydrogen that the oxygen generators that are generating the hydrogen are now able to keep up indefinitely. So technically, I guess, and I didn't know this for sure until now, we could have taken off when we only had maybe 5% of our hydrogen tank, because the generators are generating it faster than what we're using it. Alright, so if you notice there, I just turned the hydrogen engines down to 1/4, and it's only the bottom engine. It's now at 1/4 of its maximum potential, and so it's only using 1/4 of the fuel. And again, our tank may be staying full, but we're still burning ice proportional to how much thrust is being applied on that engine. So in order to conserve ice, you still want to keep that as low as you can to maintain your maximum speed of 100 meters a second. So as your gravity decreases, and we're down to 0.3 Gs right now, just keep turning that down ever so slightly. See, I turned it down just a hair too far. I'm losing speed ever so slowly. I could let it go ahead and even out, or you could turn it back up one notch later. See, I'm gaining speed now. So I didn't turn it up any, but I'm gaining speed because we're getting into lower and lower gravity. So that's a good speed right now. And I think I'm at 1/8 of its maximum now. I'm not sure exactly. No, I'm just below 1/4, and that's fine. When I get down to 500 kN, then I'll be at 1/8. I'm down to 1/5 now or so. Still, you just want to maintain that 100 meters a second. Start dreaming about outer space because that's where you're heading. And the thing is, most of the celestial bodies, I think, have an atmosphere on them. They don't have oxygen, but they do have an atmosphere. And so, because you kept all of your atmospheric engines, you could go over to the alien planet, or I don't know if the Mars planet has it. I know some of the moons have atmospheres, and you could land on them, and you could do it just with the hydrogen engine. But since you have the air breathers anyway, it would just help save that much more fuel when you're landing on them. I don't think that the moon has an atmosphere, but again, some of the moons do, but not the moon around the Earth-like planet. All right, we're now down to 1/8 of our maximum thrust, so we're using again 1/8 of the fuel. Barely burning fuel. If we look at our ice in our oxygen generators, they're still on average probably half full, all 8 of them. So we've got enough ice left to make that same trip probably 4 times. You would have absolutely no issue even landing on the alien planet, which has, I mean, you wouldn't have an issue anyway because your air breathers would work, your atmospheric engines. But you wouldn't have any issue even as far as the fuel cost in spite of the slightly increased gravity. Gravity's at 0.08. We're almost out of the gravitational influence. That's nice. The refinery's processed everything but the uranium, which it's working on. We have 11 ingots of uranium, so plenty of uranium. We actually got off with a lot of resources. I mean, we've got enough to rebuild the drills. We've got enough. We couldn't build really a small ship to do any kind of mining or anything like that until we make it to the asteroid belt, because we really need to find some platinum, because you don't want to be burning hydrogen engines on a small mining ship. I mean, that would be kind of silly. The problem is that they burn the hydrogen so fast compared to how often you have to go back and refill the tank. So, all right, we made it out of the gravity. There we go. I've disabled the override, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off that main engine because we don't need it burning right now. Alright, so at this point, you could aim yourself at the moon or another planet. Use your inertial dampeners to stop all of your speed. Turn on all of your hydrogen engines, because you would need them. And kill all of your velocity, and then do a full burn towards the moon or other planet that you wanted to go to. And then kill your engines again, and obviously, leave your inertial dampener off if you're going to do that. But if you kill the engines anyway, your inertial dampeners, they don't matter if they're on, because there's no engines on to stop you. So you could aim yourself at a planet or a moon and go for it. The sad thing is, the only one that's practical to do that with is the moon that you see in the bottom kind of center off to the right a little bit, because it's only a few 100,000 meters away, depending on where you come off the planet at. But the problem is, it's going to take you 30, 45 minutes, something like that, maybe an hour even, to get from wherever you come off the planet to that moon. Even farther if you come off the back side of the planet from the moon, because then you have to get some distance from the planet so you can even get a clear line of sight to the moon without hitting the atmosphere again. So like right here, I wouldn't go straight to the moon. I would go out a little bit farther, at least maybe another 50,000 meters, just so that I would have a clear line of sight and I wouldn't skim back into the atmosphere and have to burn my hydrogen engines really hard again just to get out. So you could go to that moon practically right now. But if you want to go anywhere else, you really need to just go out to the asteroid belt and mine enough material to build a jump drive. Now, I don't remember what all's in a jump drive. Let's go look real quick. Over to the assembler, large blocks. I'll probably miss it skimming through here, but it's in here somewhere. Alright, here's the jump drive. So, in order to build the jump drive, we would need to go and mine a little bit of nickel, a little bit of cobalt. I mean, we almost have enough of each of those. They don't take much. A little bit of silver, which we can't get anymore without mining from reprocessing stuff. And a lot of gold. Not tons of gold, but, probably a few loads with your backpack. So you wouldn't have to mine a whole lot in order to build a jump drive. And even your tiny little bitty small reactor that you have on here would be able to power the jump drive in 30, 45 minutes or so. I'm not sure exactly how long it takes to maybe not, maybe like 10, 15 minutes. So you make it out to the asteroid belt. The asteroid belt, I call it the asteroid belt, it's not really a belt, but the asteroid field starts about 100K above the planet's surface. And once you get out of the gravity of the planet, you're already up something like 30K. So the amount of time it took you to get from the planet's surface up to the point where there was no more gravity and you could turn off your hydrogen engines, you're going to have to go about 3 times that far in order to get to where the asteroids start. And when you find the asteroids, they're generally inside of a sphere of, say, 15K. You're probably going to find 5 or 6 large asteroids and maybe 5 or 6 or even more small asteroids. They're going to have different resources on them. So, um, the best thing to do, in my opinion, is just go ahead, since you're already pointed straight out and it doesn't matter what direction you go ahead and float out to the asteroids and collect enough resources to build a jump drive. And if you don't know what a jump drive is, that's not going to be covered in this video as far as how to operate it. But long story short, you build a jump drive, you attach it to your large ship. You can't put them on small ones. And then you can just aim yourself in a direction and give it a power setting in percentage and jump. So 0% power on the jump drive will send you 5 kilometers in a straight line in front of your ship. I don't think it's possible to run into anything. They call it a blind jump, but I don't think you can actually hit any object. It won't let you do that. If you put it on 1%, you're going to go 10K. If you put it on 2%, you're going to go 15K, and so on and so forth. If you happen to already have the coordinates for a specific location, like let's say you went around and you scouted out half a dozen asteroids looking for nickel, and then you realize, oh whoops, I needed gold, but you'd already found gold on a different asteroid and you made a GPS location coordinate of it, a bookmark basically. Well, if you're more than 5 kilometers away from that bookmark, you can jump to it with the jump drive. You go into the jump drive. Again, I'm not going to explain all together how to use a jump drive, but you go into the jump drive, you select that coordinate, you hit jump, and it'll just jump you straight over there, and you'll land within about 1 kilometer of it. So you can do the same thing with the planets, and I don't know the coordinates for all the planets, but I'm sure you can look them up, and they don't move. So if you get the coordinates for, say, the alien planet, and you want to go over there, you just plug those coordinates into a GPS location, and then you select it on the jump drive, and you can jump straight over there. And then you're going to be right outside the atmosphere, and you can easily go ahead and land. But in order to go from the Earth planet to the alien planet without a jump drive, you're talking about, I don't know, 15, 20 hours at 100 meters a second. So unless you want to leave your computer on for a day or two, you don't want to try and get anywhere significant without a jump drive. So you get off the planet, you float out to the asteroid belt, you collect these few resources that you need, and you build the jump drive, and now the universe is at your fingertips. You can jump anywhere you want. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative, and I hope you have more fun with planets now that you know how to get off of them easy. Thanks for watching. Bye.